Welcome back. Alphabet investors this morning shaking off concerns over the gender discrimination lawsuit filed against Google yesterday. Now, according to court documents, 3 female staffers say that the technology giant puts women at lower level and lower paying jobs. The plaintiffs are now seeking class action status. Their lawyers say more than 90 current and former Google employees have since come forward. A Google spokesperson released a statement to Fox Business reading in part this: "We disagree with the central allegations. Job levels and promotions are determined through rigorous hiring and promotion committees and must pass multiple levels of review, including checks to make sure there's no gender bias in these decisions." I want to bring in attorney and author Danielle McLaughlin. Danielle, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Your reaction here?
It's really interesting. I don't think there's anybody in Silicon Valley who has worked harder than Google to try and work out their diversity problems. They spent $265 million since 2014 to try and make sure that their hiring processes and their career developmental processes are in place and are supportive of women. There are 3 women here. There is a manager, there is a sales executive, and there is a tech. And I think the tech is the most interesting one. She's an engineer. She alleges that she was hired into a lower level than similarly situated and qualified men. Google works in levels. You're a level 3, you're a level 4, and you're a pay, and your chances for advancement depend very much on the level. So she's saying, I was similarly qualified, I had substantially the same experience, but I was hired into a lower level, and my opportunities for advancement were very much determined by that lower level, and I wasn't treated the same. The lawsuit is under California law. State law tends to be a little bit more protective of employees, of gender gap and those sorts of things, as opposed to federal law, so I think that was purposeful. I thought it was interesting that this came out very on the heels of the memo from the former Google employee, right, who talked a lot about front end, back end.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, the plaintiff's attorney went out into the world and asked folks if they had experienced gender discrimination, and as we saw, 90 women came forward.
Yeah, James Damore memo.
Yes, the irony is these technology companies and that industry as a whole is hyper-liberal, is very much to the left. But in terms of Apple, for example, Apple brags about equal pay, but less than 1/3 of its employees worldwide are women. Yeah. That 68% are men. And if you look at technology jobs, less than 1/4 of those jobs are held by women. So before you start bragging about your diversity and your liberal leanings and your liberal ideology, why not try to walk that talk? And you hear that anecdotally from women who work in these major companies, that they are talked down to by the men who are in comparable jobs. That it is a mindset that permeates a lot of these companies, that if you're a woman, you're not good in math and science, and it's appalling.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
It's pretty bad. And even at places like Facebook, if you talk to people who have been in meetings with men, they automatically assume you're in sales and marketing, when you might be a tech manager, you might have a very senior tech job.
Or an engineer.
It's a problem that they can't seem to fix.
Thoughts?
Yikes.
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 I just had one question.
Of course.
What type of data can they collect after the Trump decision to maybe not allow, the Department of Justice came out that data is no longer possibly retrievable? I don't know the case well.
No, that's a great question. So as you know, the Trump administration basically undid some Obama-era executive orders requiring employers of a certain size to give their gender pay data to the government. Google has been under some scrutiny by the Department of Labor because they gave their data over pre-Trump, and the Department of Labor has said that there are very big problems as the data shows. There's a tussle going on in a separate case now about how much of Google's data should go over to the federal government. Google says it's too hard to get this data out. It costs too much money, which was frankly one of the reasons why the Trump administration unrolled that Obama-era rule. What is interesting, I think, is at the core of this is really about the engineer's case. So she was put into a job that was a front-end job, whereas most of her male colleagues are put into back-end jobs. And there's a fight going on, and I spoke to a Google engineer this morning, is whether, in fact, you do need to have different qualifications and have more rigorous training to be back-end. That's one of the things that will come up in this suit.
All right, we'll be watching that. Danielle, thank you. Danielle McLaughlin there.